I've always wanted to be a designer, but then things change like last minute.
The initial idea between me and Hans collaborating, there's a restaurant have great food but mediocre service. Or the other way around, great service but mediocre food.
Before, you always think very simple. You want to pursue what you like, but not necessarily what you like is something that you're gonna like when it converted into the real industry.
When you fell in love with it, you woke up in the morning and you whatever it takes, how challenging it was, that you still do it.
I said to Hans, look, there's a blank canvas for great food and great service or hospitality, and no one does it. And this is something that we want to paint on. My name is Budi Cahyadi. I was born and raised in Lombok. I spent up to my high school there, and I left to Switzerland to pursue my hospitality management in Switzerland. And after I finished Switzerland, and I start my professional career in Mandarin Oriental London, where I actually stay for 10 years. A lot of people ask, I thought we were told or we were taught in school that you have to explore and move different places to gain more experience, to see different things. Back then, I think the choice was quite limited. I still have a choice, but to get to London and where you have your work permit for 5 years was very rare. I have the intention, of course, I want to see a different brand. I want to see another luxury brand like Four Seasons. I want to see how Hilton does things. But at the end of the day, what I realized, and this is thanks to my previous employer, the 10 years, it didn't mean that I stay in one job. So I was moved around, back of house or stewarding, where I was promoted up to a managerial, as a manager. Then I moved to restaurant, and then I was a manager. I moved to the bar. Bar was not my strength, so I stopped until assistant manager. And then I was in banquet, room service. So I moved around. And then after I finished my 10 years in London, I asked for transfer. I actually wanted to go to US. I did open Mandarin Oriental Boston in 2018. 2008.
What was your position that time?
I was a task force from London.
To help them open
opening. I think I was assistant manager in the restaurant. So they sent me for 1 month project to help them to open Mandarin Oriental Boston. Now, toward my 10 years, I wanted to apply for a position in Boston. I want to change the city. I love Boston. And at that time, the position was filled up. And Jakarta, property in Jakarta was just reopened after a massive renovation. So the vacancy was saying local talent, international exposure or experience, and the position was F&B manager. So I said, perfect. Okay, then I talked internally to them. They said, okay, why don't you move to Jakarta, from London to Jakarta for 2 years, and then after 2 years, then you get a place in Boston. So I said, perfect, So I moved back.
So you moved back first and then...
I never worked in Indonesia. So that was my first job in Indonesia.
How was it?
It was a massive shock. I never thought that I would be a stranger in my own country. First, when I came back, my bahasa was... I can speak bahasa, but in a very casual way. But when I have to conduct a briefing, when I have to conduct training, when I have to conduct coaching...
It's very strange,
there was... I had done it in English. Some of the team was confused and say, you're Indonesian. But you deliver everything in English. We could understand if there would be an expatriate, but why you? So there was a lot of adjustment in that. Raising your voice was not a thing. I was called to HR, I think, after my first week. Yeah.
No.
Just because I was not swearing, I was very professional.
Yeah.
But I think at work, raising your tone because certain things need to be done, or when the pressure is there, was required.
And in terms of the human resources is also different.
Oh yeah, very different.
That's why.
Very different. In here, I think at that time, a lot of people, not all, but a lot of people work because of the paycheck. It wasn't their choice to be at the hotel, and it was very challenging for me. And I came from a place where I'm not saying in London everybody was full of passion, but majority of them, they know that this is a profession. I'm a server in the restaurant or in the bar, or I'm a bartender, but this is a profession that I choose. I can be a plumber, I can be the electrician, but those people choose to be a worker in the hospitality business. You know, so it was a massive culture shock.
How long was it? How long did you?
I think I stayed for 2 years.
2 years.
2 years.
Yep.
So I finished the contract.
Yep. Okay. And then you moved back to London.
No,
Boston.
the move to Boston got hold up because the person that's supposed to move, I think, got the visa or whatsoever delayed. And I was in the crossroad of should I continue, should I look for a new brand? I mean, there's a few hotel group here in Indonesia was offering.
But were you
for a
thinking
job.
already like, look, I don't want to go overseas anymore. I'll just stay in Indonesia?
At that time,
or?
no. I still want to go.
Right.
I was just looking for which hotel brand. Because again, I think after 12 years being the same company, you have this a sweet spot with your at the time my current employer, right? So I was looking for option. Okay, maybe if it's not Boston, maybe Hong Kong, maybe Singapore, maybe somewhere. But long story short, one of my guests offered me the opportunity to run the business as a head business unit, meaning that I'm not running the operation, but more running the business as a very strategic format. F&B, a few restaurants, they have a private F&B company. Okay. So I thought that would be interesting, to focus on the restaurant.
Would you say that was a consultant sort of?
No.
That was
like
just a strategic from the internal.
No, they said we want you to run this business.
Okay, so operational as well.
Yeah, like not day to day, but like more to see it from a managerial position. Like being in the office, looking at the P&L, looking at the cost, looking at. So I said, at the time we just got married, and I said to my wife, I declined the job for 3 times, by the way, and then they keep coming back and keep coming back. So I said to my wife, and I said, look, this is probably the opportunity that, while we're waiting, I don't know whether we still want to go because we married now, and I think I did not kind of like plan to start the family overseas. So I said, look, you know what? Let me take this job. Worst come worst, if it didn't work, then I can always go back to the hotel. So I resigned from the hotel. I joined the company. Fast forward, I stay in the company for 8 years. I'm a pretty loyal guy, when it comes to work. No, I mean, I always, for me, I think I've been very blessed also. I put my values. People understand my values. They also provide with what I'm asking for. So yeah, I stayed for 8 years, and then the owner decided to sell the company. I was helping him to sell the company, and then I met Hans. I was dining actually before the company was, so I was dining in Hans' place, and that's how the partnership or the friendship started. I was dining there. I thought it would be interesting to meet him outside work. So I slid him a DM. We met for coffee. But initially it was only talk about the industry, how the industry evolved, what he thinks, how he see things, how I see things, So it was just a casual coffee. But I think we kind of like continued for over a year until we decided, okay, let's do this together. He has a passion. And Hans always told me he can master the culinary, but he also agreed that a great food was not enough. I need to have somebody that I can trust to be present in the dining room, whereby I always dream to have a chef partner that I don't need to knock on the door and say, okay, look, we need a new menu, okay, we need to do this, we need to do that, but also sharing this passion that in the kitchen side. Right. Where I know that I can manage the front of house. So I think when the partnership, when the vision met and we talked and we agreed and we said, okay, let's do this. We both resigned from our job.
What sort of key points that you have that is similar with Chef Hans?
I always shared my vision to Hans that, for me, the objective is to make people happy. And to make people happy, there's so many formats. Good food, we're talking in the context in the restaurant, good food is a must, but also they need to feel comfortable, they need to feel at home, they need to feel seen, I always say to him that I believe that a combination of great food and great hospitality is the objective of what I want to do. And that's where, like I said, Hans, the connection start to spark. Hans said, look, I've been missing the person that I can trust in the dining room to give me a feedback, how the guests, but also to make these things better every day. And I think that is really the key point that we said. You believe in me to do this dining room, and I'm fully entrusted him with whatever he does.
So
in
sort
the
of like
kitchen.
trust is one of the key.
Yeah. Trust is one of the key. And a lot of people ask, Albert, how does it work, these two partnerships?
Yeah, that's a really good question.
Like how you set the line. It's a very clear thing. We start with trust. We practice trust every day. Whatever Hans does for the food, I would never comment. I never tell him, okay, maybe you should do a steak with this kind of beef. Maybe you should do this kind of cooking. I would never cross my line there because I know, look, in the first place, I pick him because I trust his capability, his creativity. So why would I go and start telling him what to do? And the same with Hans. He would never tell me, oh, I think you should do this and I think you should do that. Oh, I don't want to do this. I think you should do this on the dining room. So we respect each other's capability, and that's in the first place why we as a partner come together. But of course, as the advice, I'll give it to him. For example, he created a dish that it might take too long to prepare. And I say, chef, look, we run it for a week. This is the feedback. Between this and this is a bit too long. Is there a way that we can adjust this? Or chef, I think the portion is slightly too small. Is there a way that we can enlarge it? How many grams of the thing? And then chef would say to me, look, I think that will be enough, but maybe we need to add a bread course, maybe we, whatever. But we put it on the table as a healthy discussion. The same with him. He might tell me, look, maybe, for this course, you should serve it with spoon instead of a knife because the octopus has been cut anyway, which is in the normal practice. Whenever you serve a protein, you have to have a knife, right? And I said, okay, you know what? It's actually better. So two of us, it's sometimes see things in a different way. Because sometimes, when I'm in the front of house, it's the mirror is here.
Right.
You can't really see it.
Right.
You've been doing it every day.
Yeah.
The same with him.
And then a new point of view came in.
Exactly.
And
So we only giving advice transparently whenever we feel that for the benefit of the guest. But to fill up the ego, and there's a lot of people ask, like, it's very clear. And Hans and I mean, we discuss, we argue things for a better of the guests. But I'm very grateful. It's a very healthy partnership that we respect each other.
Turn back the time again. So you did 12 years and then 8 years. If you could change the time, would you do it differently? And then why?
If I could turn back the time, would I change differently my path? I wouldn't.
You sort of having the experience not in a fine dining, and then now you're opening a fine dining restaurants. Is that sort of like helping? This is for the younger generations.
I'm a big believer, Albert, that even if I can tell my younger self, I always carry this 12 plus 8 years as something that shaped me today. And I tell you why. I graduated from one of the top hotel schools in the world. The investment was big from my parents. I got accepted in one of the most prestigious hotels in London, Mandarin Oriental, the iconic hotel legend. My first job as front office, okay? Because front office somehow at that time is regarded as a better position than F&B, because you suit and tie, you're dealing with guests, I met celebrities. After a year, I got bored. This is the turning point. Being a full-time staff with all the benefits in front office, I went to see the F&B director. At that time, Mandarin Oriental Hotel Group worldwide has, actually the one in London started first, has a management trainee program for F&B. A 12-month program, much less salary, 50% less. But the benefit, they take you to 3 restaurants with the caliber of 1, 2, and 3 star to experience the service, the food, and everything. So they pay for your bill. They invest on the seminars. You have some module that that you need to study. And after 12 months, depending on your performance, and then this 12 months, they move you to 3 different departments. So you move 3 different departments, you eat 3 different restaurants, you have 3 different modules to study, and at the end of your 12 months, they assess you, and depending on your performance, they assign you to the department as a junior manager or supervisor. It depends on where it is.
Right.
I take my pay cut, and that was rough. You spend 3 months in every position, in every department. I did steward, stewarding, I did banqueting, and I did restaurant. Upon the completion of 12 months, I came out as the best. You're very proud, you think. And everybody back then, after a year of living under the saving of,
Yeah.
of, you know,
That's-
because of your salary, honestly, everybody was aiming to be a junior manager at the bar because of the tips. And again, it's a cool place to work, you know, you get exposed to guests. And you guess what? My first job as best trainee was a junior manager at back of house.
Right. Wow.
You
Why
were
did you
dealing-
choose that? Yeah.
No, you were given.
Oh,
I did
you were
not
given.
choose.
Okay.
So I was disappointed, I have
Yeah.
to tell you.
Yeah.
And then I've got some trainee that, okay, get a position in the bar.
Right.
And then you can tell already, oh, he's gonna make so much money out of this position.
Yeah.
And then you were dealing in the back. You're dealing with kitchen porter that at that time mostly from Africa, working to feed the family at the minimum wage. You're dealing with chef that much senior than you. They wanted everything in place in one click. So there were 6 outlets. I was the junior manager back of house. I have to dealing with chef from banquet, in-room dining.
All
This is
the
in
chefs,
London.
yep.
Everything.
Yep.
So basically, we have a wedding of 300. You need to prepare the plate for 3 course. You need to make sure the kitchen porter is there. You need to make sure the pot and pans are clean. You know, all this.
There's a lot
it's a lot
going
of
on,
preparation.
yep.
Okay, the afternoon tea, we have this, we have that. You know, basically you were on call for most of your shift because people, we are running out of aluminum foil.
Yep.
Because everything is stored centrally.
Yep.
So you need to deliver that. You need to deliver this. I was disappointed. I didn't expect that, but I tell you why. That position has actually shaped me to where I am today because that's where you learn about being gracious, you learn about being sensible with people, you learn how to understand people. As much as we as a leader want something, especially when I deal with those people that, you know, I have to say less educated, their struggle was different with you. Your struggle is to get your shift finished and get your report done. Their struggle is how I'm gonna feed the family.
Yeah.
They're working 16 hours a day job. They don't want to be off. You know, when you give them a day off because you think they work so hard, over 90 hours a week, they think that, why boss? You don't like me, you don't give me a 7 days. I say, it's not that I don't like you, but I care because you work over 90 hours a week. You need to rest. No. I don't need rest. I need the money. You know, that's where you start realizing every person have a different need. And this is where I carry over my management stuff. You know, when you talk with this, you know, I tell you, my kitchen porter is mostly from Ethiopia, Eritrea. They're all big, 6'2", massive. You know, they can hold this gastro pot one hand, you know. You are just this Asian guy, you know, and trying to tell them what to do. But the point is, this is where I learned, you need to be empathy. You need to learn that. And this is where I learned. Sometimes it matters, it's not what you want to say to them.
Right.
They need to be disciplined, but I learned a lot about how you communicate, how you say things. You can tell them about what you need to discipline them, but in a different manner. You have 2 choices, shout it or sit down and discuss and point out their
What
mistake.
goes wrong? What goes
The same
right?
with reward, you know. You need to highlight this, and this is where I learned a lot of my management style because of those positions back in the basement of this hotel where you're dealing. My army was like 30 people back then. You have to know them by name. You have to, you know, it's a very humbling experience. And then when I move, you know, it's a very rewarding. After being there, I think almost 2 years.
Okay.
I was being a manager. You know, when I left, they all cried. And can you imagine this guy, big one, and cried because the attachment was there. But I have to say that the learning point, it's where shaped my management.
What would you say to the younger generations nowadays that's starting their career? What's one advice that you can give them?
Patience is a virtue. Sometimes we always think, oh, Albert's getting promoted, why I don't? The company maybe is not in my favor. I look somewhere else. Just because Albert get promotion, I should get a promotion. In my mantra, everybody got their own timing. Everybody got their own season. Sometimes what we want, it's everything happen according to our timeline. Right? when we ask ourselves, have we learned enough to be a supervisor, to be a CDP, to be a sous chef, to be whatever? Naively, we always say, no, of course we have done, right? But then when you do a fact check, when during break you eat the first, you don't check whether your team is finished already, okay? During the breakdown, you left them without giving them a hand. You don't even show them what to do right, and then when they don't do it right, you give them, your anger.
You're gonna be upset with them.
You're
and stuff
gonna
like
get
that.
upset. So those small little things, we are too afraid to say no. Actually, I'm not ready. I'm not ready. Now, the younger generation, of course. I mean, again, I've been 20 plus years in this industry. So for me, it's now the time for me to give back and to invest on people. And just like my senior invested on me. But sometimes, when you have a big willingness to invest on people, on the talent, the patience is there. Of the talent, the commitment is there, the skill is there, the knowledge is there. You know what's missing, Albert?
What is it?
It's their patience, their time. They just want everything so quick because
They want it now. They want it tomorrow, like just one click.
And this is again, it's how the world shaped today. Everything is on your thumb.
Yeah.
Everything on your phone. I want to make a new dish, ChatGPT, Google. It's the easiest one to see. Back then, people need to read book.
Yeah.
Sometimes in the book, they don't even list down you the ingredient. You need to read the whole thing to understand, right? So I can understand, yes, the world is moving faster, but I think there's a certain thing in life that you have to still go back to a very conventional way.
Right.
One of them, a career. I'm not saying that you should not looking for a better opportunity. That's not what I'm saying. But sometimes when you find the right company, what we are missing is the time.
Right.
And, I always wish that, and I completely understand that my time and this younger generation time are completely different.
Right.
My time and your time are completely different.
Yeah, 100%.
People, if younger generation now tell, okay, you need to stay 12 years, they say, no, 12 years is too long.
Yeah.
Which I understand. Back then, the path was different. Okay? And I'm not trying to make you stay 12 years in the same job, but sometimes 1 year is not enough. Sometimes 2 years is not enough. But again, the society or the environment or the industry sometimes shape this mentality that 2 years is the limit to stay in one company. I can understand. I mean, I talk a lot with Hans. I think I would say that the generation of chef that we look up to is different.
It's different.
I understand sometimes people, like a young chef, need to move around just to see a different perspective because again, the variable of chef are so diverse now. Back then, I mean, you can just name a few. I grew up with Heston was there on top of the game. Gordon Ramsay was there. Marco Pierre White was there. So there's only a few. Now there's so many. So I understand that you have to see things, but not necessarily for me, as long as you're still able to learn, I think you should invest in your time. When you check all the box and your 2 years is here, I've learned everything from Hans, let's say, that I'm so good at my job, but I don't have a position to grow. I'm sure that Hans would give you the blessing to go somewhere else better. But sometimes what we see, it's not that. Just because I've done 2 years, and 2 years is becoming a parameters of, I gotta change now. If it's 3 years, people think, I'm not progressing. But actually, and again, for me, I think it's important for the younger generation, you need to be able to build that communication with your peers and your leader. Sit down after 2 years, you just ask them, I've been 2 years, what do I miss? What do I need to step up? Exactly. Now, sometimes it's the assumption over assumption.
Yeah.
Just because I've done 2 years means that,
That's it. That's enough.
yeah,
That's
and now time to move on.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so, yeah. I wish that the younger generation would understand that sometimes, despite all the skill and the knowledge and experience you have, time matters.
Right. Yeah.
If you can say this is the finish, if you can say one more things to your team, to again, if you want to say it again, another opinions for younger generations, please do.
I always said that our job in this industry is hard. To please people, it's very hard. To make people happy, it's very hard. It's not impossible. It's just hard, like any other job. But the most important is before you make your guests happy, you need to be happy.
Right.
Because it transforms. If you're not happy in what you do, especially in the restaurant business, people will feel it. The guests will feel it. You don't tell me only the front of house. If the chef are not happy, translate to the food. It translates to the presentation. It translates to the delay. So for me, for people who work in this industry, my team, I mean, of course, you need to be very consistent. You need to have patience. I mean, you learn this, you read this. But I think most important is love what you do. I mean, be happy about it, and and progress, and always hungry for new information, learning new. I'm still learning. I'm still listening podcasts. I'm still reading books, because I always believe, you are only as good as your last service.
I like
The
that.
next thing is reset. I always said you are as good as your last service, and you need to do better. You need to do better tomorrow from today. That's it, And as long as you keep doing that, I think you'd be a lot happier in finding joy in what you do. I truly believe that.
That's it.
All right.
Thank you so much, Budi.
Thank you,
Thank you
Albert.
for your time.
You know.
That's
First
the
time
untold story of Budi Cahyadi.